What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Adrian here from Adrian Mateo Drones. Another beautiful weekend. Good to be here with you guys. My co host, Matt Condiff, has told me that he will not be in. So I got a special guest, another co host for tonight. He goes by Recoveryone Drone, aka Draymond Crawford. And we got a few topics that we're going to talk about. So be ready for that. Anyway, again, I hope every one of you guys had a great weekend. I'm having a good one so far. Not too happy because my AC went out and it's going to cost me a little penny to get it fixed, but it is what it is. Other than that, I do have quite a few folks here already in the chat. I'm going to bring you in and at least tell you hi in a second, but let me go ahead and bring Mr. Draymond Crawford in here. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Yourself?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for being here, sir. We do have Mr. Max at 420. We got Jody Drone Shots. How you doing, buddy? Steve 43068. Mr. Matt Bagwell. How you doing, bro? Thank you for coming in. Jody Drone Shots. We got Andrew Silver Fox. Thank you for coming in, buddy. We got Leonard, JSK Enterprise. Thank you, sir, for being here. We got Mr. Mike Kenny. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for being here. So I really appreciate your love and support. We got Mr. Sergio, Fly Zone Drones. Robert Glazier. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for coming in, sir. Really appreciate you. And we got Mike H. Renek. How you doing, buddy? Oh, we got Mike also from Texas. Dang it. Michael Wright. Thank you, sir, for Tex Arch Drone Guy. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for popping in here. Who else do we have in here? If I'm missing anybody else. Leonard, JSK Enterprise. How you doing, bro? Thank you for being here. Thank you. That's pretty much it, I believe. Oh, no, we got Mr. Bob Casey in the house. Thank you, Bob, for being here, sir. We got Sean from Sean Ide Studios. We got Curtis Dart. Thank you for coming in. We got Drone and New Visuals. Thank you for coming in, buddy. Really appreciate you. We got 18 folks already here. My signal seems to be working pretty good. How do I look, Dre? Am I looking all right?
Hey, you look sharper than ever, brother.
All right. We got Mr. Scat Nadu in the house. We got Steven from the Flyby Guys. Thank you for coming in, sir. Appreciate it. Anyway, as you guys can see in the little banner that's floating on the bottom of the stream, Chris from Sunrise Water Media. Thank you for coming in. We got Justin in the house. Thank you for popping in, sir. Really appreciate you. We got quite a few topics that we want to talk about. Thank you for being here, Dre, because you can actually hit the nail on the head on some of these because you've actually been through it. You actually have to go through that a lot more than I do since you do this for a living. We got Mr. David Lorenzo in the house. Thank you for coming in, sir. Really appreciate you. We got one visual aerial. Thank you for popping here. Anyway, so let me see here. So pretty much, Dre, we're going to talk about is airspace, TFRs. We're also going to talk about restricted areas. Now, what does the TFR stand for again? I forgot.
It's a temporary flight restriction.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yep.
For a second, I kind of went blank. Then we also got, what else we have? Restricted areas. I think I said that one before. We got pre-flight and pre-flight checklist. We're going to talk about some flight management. We're going to talk about batteries maintenance. And we're also going to talk about visual line of sight and visual observers. So that's what we're going to talk about. So with that being said, Dre, whichever one you want to pick first, we'll go ahead and take it from there. Before we do that, though, can you do me a favor? Go ahead and let everybody know about our March Madness giveaway in March. Again, guys, if you're not aware of it, for the whole entire month of March, every Saturday on my stream, we're going to be doing a giveaway sponsored by Mr. Draymond Crawford, aka Recoveryone Drone. And I will let you do that intro for me, sir.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depends on where you're sitting at, I should say. Uh,
Located at.
I just want to just give everybody an idea of why we're covering the variety of topics, not just tonight, but all through this whole series that I'm gonna be involved with Adrian. Um, Many of us who have been in flying drones for several years now, we all predicted this is going to happen right after the holiday period. If you guys are in any type of Facebook group, go to different other forums, and we've heard it talk here. We're hearing a lot of people, especially new people, who are starting to have issues flying these new drones they purchased. Now, the unfortunate part for some of these people, they all went out and bought the Mavic 3, expensive drone. So they're talking about, they're highly upset because now they're damaging something that's a significant investment. This is not a $100 drone you got off Amazon or picked up at Walmart. This is a $2,000 to up to $5,000 drone,
Yes, it
depending
is.
upon which one you bought.
Very
So
expensive.
very expensive. So I have seen several different complaints in different groups, and I just want to start to address some of these issues, and hopefully we can help, or more than help, we can educate people who are maybe new to the hobby, and also serve as a reminder for those of us who've been doing it for a while, and we kind of get into our regular routine. And I always tell folks, I say, until you get officially trained by somebody who's licensed or authorized, no matter what it is, not just drones, but no matter what it is, sometimes we develop bad habits, and sometimes we forget the good habit. So we
Yep.
just serve this as a reminder to try to up your pre-flight game, your management game of why you're flying, and all the ins and out. We're not here to try to poke fingers at anybody or anything else. My goal is to help everyone become a better pilot, no matter what you fly. I don't care if it's DJI, Autel, Hudson, whatever it is. We just want you to become a better pilot, no matter what you're flying and how often you fly. So that is the goal that I have, and those who I've talked to personally, I'll tell you, I'll give you every bit of knowledge that I have. You can use it, chew on it, whatever the case may be. And sometimes we may disagree, and that's always good too, because I feel like if everybody, other words, I say I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I don't need nobody else.
Tenfold.
Okay, so sometimes we do need to have discussions and difference of opinion, and that way we can research it and find out and come to common ground of what is the best course down the road. So we're going to jump right in. See, everybody's still saying their hellos to everyone else. So that's why I've been kind of running
Yeah.
off the mouth here and letting
Correct.
everybody kind of get settled in.
And let me go ahead and actually welcome a couple of folks. We got Ronald Lockwood from from Art Photography, Thomas Ariels, Jim's Droning, Chris Hope, Scott from Jackrabbit FTV, Mike Candy. We got Michael McReynolds from Michael Drones and RC Hobby, Bob Casey. I think I touched up on that one. We also got Mendez Drone Ups. Jose, thank you for being here, sir. We got David Lorenzo, Leonard for JKS Enterprise. We got Chris Miller. Thank you for being here, sir. I really appreciate you. And I think there's a couple more that Jody John Shots. Who else did I miss? I think that's pretty much Akirasha. Thank you for being here, sir. I appreciate you. And that's pretty much it right there. Okay. So before we jump into the first, Jerome Torres, thank you for being here. Before we jump into the first topic, Dre, if you want to go ahead and talk to them about the March Madness giveaway that we have when it comes to the hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all
Okay.
that good stuff.
All right. As Adrian has alluded to, that during the month of March, which we have dubbed as March Drone Madness, we're going to be giving away hats, polo shirts, hoodies, stickers of my gear out to you guys. And this is just, once again, this is just my way of giving back to the drone community and just observing what you guys do, because like I say, I do watch a lot of you guys' videos that are in here, and I try to leave comments as often as I can to show support and go from there. So I just don't think you guys, I say, like we always say, sub to one another, support each other in what we do. And like I say, if someone gives you a comment, a criticism, take it in good stride. They might be trying to help you out, you know, and go from there. 'Cause like I said, we all want to become better pilots overall. No matter if you just fly for fun or like me, you fly for commercial purposes. We all want to get better at what we do.
Correct.
So I'll hand it back over to you, Adrian.
All right. Thank you for that, sir. So we're gonna go ahead and hit on the first topic. And we're gonna try to keep this show on about 2 hours. That way we'll not go run that long. But we also want to go ahead and try to hit this topic. How you doing, Aldias? Time to fly. Thank you for being here, sir. So the first one that we're gonna hit on the first one is gonna be airspace.
Yes. For those of us who are Part 107s and many of us who have been in this game for a while, this is one of the first things that you're taught is airspace. We have different classification. Airspace is usually marked by alphabet terminology, A, B, C, D, E, and then we have G.
Yes.
Okay. Most of us heard about G, airspace, which is we call general airspace for the most part. And basically what that is consistent of anything from the ground up until maybe some areas, unless you hit E airspace, can go to about 5,000 to 7,000 feet, depending upon
Correct.
where you're at. Okay. G airspace technically means it's general area. It's not controlled, and you pretty much can fly. Now, before I go down any further, it's one thing I tell people: airspace can change at any given time. Where you used to fly every day, every week, and all of a sudden you go out there and you can't fly, and you're scratching your head about, well, what happened? Well, you got to realize airspace is very fluid. It can change because of emergency situation, as far as fires or natural disasters, floods, or whatever. There could be a TFR put in place. Another thing is the airport that you thought was, nothing going on or whatever. Maybe it's been upgraded to be something else. It may have gotten a tower. It may have gotten lance ability and everything else. So now the status of that local airport that you normally fly, which was Class G, now it has a different classification. So don't just take for granted that every time you go out to a certain park or a certain location, that the airspace will always be the same no matter what. It's an evolving thing, and anything can take place to change the type of airspace you're flying in.
Correct.
So what I want to go into now, well, I'll wait till later. We'll talk about all different airspace. The next level of airspace you might run into from a drone perspective will probably be Class D. Class D is usually for local airports that do have a control tower and that may not have a significant amount of traffic. Usually a small airport. That's what my city is under, a Class D airport, which is San Bernardino International Airport. Smaller airports may have Class D that handles private, mostly private traffic, could be classified as Class D also, depending upon how busy it is. And that's a lot of times is how they determine what the airspace may be around a certain airport. Now, I've heard people talk about still not able to get authorization or still not be able to access or get the drone off the ground. Usually the perimeter or the outside perimeter area of the class airspace that you may be in or may encounter is normally around 3, sometimes 5 nautical miles. Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
the difference in that is you also got to be mindful of the takeoff and landing pathways. Those pathways may extend beyond the actual airspace. I've heard guys talk about, well, hey, I'm outside, just outside the classified airspace, and I still can't get unlocked from DJI, or I can't get this or that. And what has happened is you may be in the flight path of the landing flight path or takeoff flight path where planes are coming in, descending or ascending out of that area. And that
Correct.
very well can be a reason why you're not able to get a takeoff clearance through DJI and maybe other drones. So that's one thing you got to be mindful when you are flying close to the airport, where you're physically at, and so forth. Now, other areas that you may encounter, Class B and Class A. Class A is usually way above, we're talking about 10, 20, 30,000 feet. Class B cover anything from usually the mid-range area up to around 20,000. May start as low as about maybe 8 or 9,000. And Class E kind of sits there between. You can have areas that you run into that are designated as Class E. Class E can go as low as to the ground in
Correct.
some areas. So that's why you got to be mindful of that. That just because you might be out of area of an airport, you still may have other things going on and classified as a Class E area for some reason or another. So my biggest thing is always might want to check your airspace before you go out, even though it might be your favorite location that you've been to time and time again. Okay. Now, going from airspace, there are several different apps that you can use to check airspace. One of the most popular ones out there is Aloft, which is the old Kitty Hawk that is changed into Aloft now. You can check airspace through that. I think Air Maps has gotten out of the doghouse with the FAA, and I think you still use Air Maps still again. And then I think there's a couple other programs. Skywatch is another one. If you have your PC, if you're at home checking your stuff, Skywatch is another good one. It'll tell you everything every aircraft that comes around. Go ahead.
What about lands? Lands
Well,
is a
I'm
good one
gonna
too.
get to that. I'm gonna get to that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just telling you these are just applications that you can check airspace on right off the bat.
Yes,
They'll
sir.
tell you what airspace that you're in. When I go out to do a job, one of the first things I do is I go to the FAA Visualize It website and type in the location address or the nearest airport to see what the airspace is before I go out. That is part of my own personal pre-flight checklist that I go through, so I know what airspace that I'm going to be in.
How you
Now,
doing,
with
buddy?
that, we talk about Lance next. Same programs using Aloft, Kitty Hawk, Air Map, and a few others. I know you can even get Lance approval through using Drone Deploy and other programs that allow you now to get approval through Lance to fly in this area. Once again, I would advise you, if you're going to need to get Lance in the area, try to do it 24 to 48 hours in advance. You can do that. And I'll get back to why I suggest that, because if you have to do a DJI unlock also, you're going to need proof of why you need authorization. That Lance approval, they'll send you a text message. You need to copy that, save it somewhere else on your computer, whatever. So when you want to go do especially a custom unlock through DJI to unlock your drone to fly in an area, you can use that Lance approval text message as your authorization to fly there. And you send that to DJI, and they'll come back and say, okay, now you're approved to fly in this area. And this all takes. Go
Now,
ahead.
if I'm not mistaken, I believe a lot of time also with lands, depending on the area you're gonna be in, it could take up to 90 days or more for you to get approval to fly as well. Is that right?
That's the maximum. I have never had to wait that long. I just did one in the last 24 hours for a job I got to do tomorrow.
I think that was in the olden days, so wasn't it,
yeah.
Dre?
Yeah. Nowadays, this stuff comes back within about 10, 15 minutes. It'll come back and hit your chat. It'll text message you that quick, and then it sends you an email to verify the text that you got approved. So it can be done on your phone. It can be done, like I say, on your desktop, tablet, or whatever you use to get your text messages or emails. that's how quick the process is getting right now. I can't vouch for that outside of the U.S. Not sure what the time frame turnaround is other countries, but that's how efficient the program is starting to become. So you can get these requests in and turn back to you. And the reason why I say try to do it 24 to 48 hours, just in case it comes back and they say, we denied you. And they'll tell you a reason why. They'll say, hey, either it's something simple. Like I had when I got turned down, is because I had the wrong number on my RC controller.
Okay.
Didn't match up. So I had to resubmit it, get the number correct, resubmit it, got approved. Not a problem. So like I say, they don't arbitrarily just shoot everybody down because they don't want anybody flying. But 9 times out of 10 is something about the information you submitted didn't match up, or something else is causing them not allow you to want to fly.
Now, when you say it doesn't match up, does that mean that you entered the number incorrectly?
Yeah, I entered the number incorrectly.
Okay.
That was it. And like I say, these numbers I'm talking about are when you open your controller. If you have a smart controller, or even on your phone, you open up the Go4 app, Fly app, or whatever you're using, and you go to, I think it's under the menu of About, and they'll tell you all the serial numbers of your drone, your RC controller, all that stuff is there. And those are the numbers you need to submit when you want to do an unlock through DJI. Those are the numbers they'll be looking for. And it's pretty much straightforward. Then I'll ask you for a date that you want to fly, and also how long you're going to fly that area. So it pretty much asks for all the different information and going from there. Now, I saw somebody in the chat talk about look out for planes. That is always going to be part of your responsibility as an operator. No matter how much clearance you have and everything else. Like I said, I got a clearance 400 feet. I'm going to go out and do a commercial plaza tomorrow. I got clearance up to 400 feet. And I got 2 airports close by. I got a smaller airport in the city of Chino that operates, and I have a larger one, Ontario International, that's close by. They all actually have overlapping airspace.
Now what about the before you fly app? Is that also a good one to look at too? Like,
yeah,
let's say
anyone that can provide you access to Lance, it also allows you to apply for Lance approval, is a good app to use. There's several of them out there. Those are just the ones I use normally, no matter where I've been here in the state of California so far. And I haven't had a problem getting access and be able to verify the information. Now, I had another guy the other day I read, he said he was having issues. And I had to break it down to him about, if you happen to be in the field and you need to get a Lance authorization, one thing you're going to need to have is internet access. Either that be through a hotspot, or you're using your regular phone as a hotspot. You will have to have internet access to get the code. Okay, so what that means is when you try to hit both the sticks inward to fire it up, you'll get a message on your controller on your screen that says unable to launch. Do you want to apply for unlock, regular unlock? And you say yes, and then they'll ask you type in your phone number, hopefully be your cell number, to send that text message to you. All right. Once you put your phone number in, boom, send it to them. You'll get a text message within about 1 to 2 minutes with a code on it. You enter that code back on your RC controller. It's usually about I want to say 6-digit code that you got to put in. Boom, 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 boom. Once you enter that code in, it unlocks your bird on the spot.
Now, let me say something real quick.
Go ahead.
What Curtis Dart just went ahead and said. He said that kind of he don't like the air map because they want to implement pay to fly. Is that something that you experienced before?
That was something AirMap was touting about 18 months, maybe 2 years ago. They were trying to push something to make people pay to use their system, and I'm not sure that maybe that's why they got in trouble with the FAA because was it sometime late middle of last year, they were not authorized to give Lance approval. But like I say, Aloft has not said anything like that. any other program. Nobody else has said anything about trying to make people pay to get access for LANC approval. So like I tell a lot of people, until it comes on the letterhead from the FAA, different companies can do what they want to do.
Hey, Trey, you know something I learned recently? Was at work, and we actually, obviously filed a flight plan to leave. Where the hell were we at? Fargo, North Dakota, and heading back to our base. We taxied out to the runway, and for some reason I went to reach. I'm like, oh shit! I left my phone back in the FBO.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the pilot to turn around. He wouldn't do it.
Wow.
He said, "You realize what I got to go through?
Yeah.
To turn around and change everything." He refused to do it. He said, "You're going to have them call them when we get back home. Have them UPS
your phone to you." Yeah.
So Ron, because of that you couldn't taxi back to go get it. You have to wait.
He could have, but he would have completely had to change everything.
How so? And why is that?
Everything's on a time schedule, and
okay, well, I get that. Okay.
Yeah, he only had a specific time frame to get everything done, and he didn't have time to turn around and.
Yep.
Right. And like you said, technically he probably could have and still made his window, because there's always a plus and minus when those guys have time to fly and everything else. But like you said, just like regular pilots have to submit flight plans to the tower and everything else, we as drone operators are starting to go towards that same level, especially when we're flying in controlled airspace. We're submitting plans of what our flight is. That's why I tell you about, they ask about, for LANC approval, they asked, okay, what date, what time, how long are you going to be flying? That's your flight plan. So, that's your approval time to be out there. So just like regular pilots have to submit a flight schedule, if you're getting approval through LANC, that is your flight schedule.
Well, hey, Dre, look at what Aldia said, time to fly. And he's in California too. He said that his turnaround time to approval has been relatively fast, at least for him. Have you been experiencing any kind of like where you have to wait more than an hour, 30 minutes, an hour or so?
No, I haven't had to wait. I say I've gotten it back, let's say usually 1 to 2 minutes. If I have to wait, go ahead.
Now, what about you, Ron? When you used to have your Part 107, did you ever had any issues with that?
No, I've never really. And I'm in an area I'm not as congested and airport savvy like some of these other guys. I haven't had the experience at being in the airspace that you guys fly in, just because I'm so rural.
Right. Yeah. So
I haven't had a problem.
Okay, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. I want to keep moving on this because we got a lot of topics to cover.
Okay.
So let me talk about TF. Go ahead, Adrian. What you going to ask?
So we talked about airspace. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying about airspace. It's kind of like do your homework in advance. Know where you're going to fly at. If it check the airspace of the area, because the airspace can change for a variety of reasons. And I always recommend to people, don't just use one source. Use multiple sources, at least a minimum of 2 sources. I always want to check the FAA map, their map, and I might use DJI's map, and I might want to use maybe a Loft or somebody else's map, to even Skywatch, to see what's out there, because a lot of times third-party apps miss out on TFRs, because I've had that happen to me before, where I went out there and checked just the whatever app I was using, didn't catch the TFR. I'm out there flying, and all of a sudden my bird starts descending, and I'm like, what's going on? So I was able to manage to pull it back relatively safe. Had to walk out and pick it up, and then when I bring the bird back and I check it all out, everything's good, and I try to fire it up again. Now the TFR shows up.
Okay.
But it didn't show up when I first took off.
So does that mean that you had to kind of redo it again?
I had to redo it again. And everything, and then still had to apply for authorization, even though there was a TFR, but it was a wide one because we had the wildfires. And I was far enough away from it, and stuff. So they gave me clearance to fly anyway while the TFR was still in effect. So I tell people, I said, know what you got, ask for permission, and you still may get it, even though a TFR may be in effect, it may be something else getting effect. They'll make the judgment call from there. The old days of calling the tower are pretty much over, unless you're in like a real rural area or something like that. They may still let that happen, but 9 times out of 10, they don't want you calling the tower unless you're close to a military base. Now I have a COA for March Air Base here in Riverside, California, and in my COA from the FAA, which is my authorization, it tells me in my authorization I must call the tower to confirm clearance because it's a military base.
And that's every time you're in that area?
Every time I'm in that area, if I put a drone up, I must contact the tower because they may have military operations going on. And I may not, even though I have a COA, I still may not get clearance because they have absolute control of that local airspace off that tower. So like I said, when people put in for these waivers, a lot of times it would tell you in your authorization what is your responsibility as the drone operator, who you need to contact, who you don't need to contact, and go from there. And just like we had a guy who flew the day of the Rams parade, and he was flying by the Hollywood sign. And I guess he got approached by some sheriff's officers, whatever. He had went through. Lance got approval. He had a copy of his authorization there. He did everything he's supposed to do. And the officers, well, they were very good about it. He handed them the paperwork. The only person who could not say anything, they couldn't get a hold of, was the local forest ranger for the Griffith Park area there in Los Angeles, California. And so other than that, this guy did everything he's supposed to do. And you might even still run into people because everybody wants to verify from whoever, because he was flying in a national forest, flying in controlled airspace. So there were several different things he was doing that he needed to get clearance for and stuff. But other than that, he said everything was handled very professionally. And I take it that because he had all the documentation that he needed showing his approval to fly that area is why the outcome of that came in a very positive fashion overall. So
Dre, if I understood you correctly, you said you got the Lance approval, you went out on the one mission, and the apps did not, the 2 apps that you had showed or went through did not show that there was a TFR.
Yeah, well, in that location, it was Class G airspace. It was Class G. Okay. Didn't need Lance. So I'm thinking I can just fly. No problem. Right. But there was a TFR that expanded, even though I was at least a good, I would say, 20 miles from the fire. And the fire had been put out 2-3 weeks ago. And that's why I tell people, I said, TFR will stay in effect as long as they want it to. And usually out here, when we have a wildfire, they can put that fire out on Monday, and that TFR stay in effect until a month later on a Monday. Because there's always
they can abruptly come up too.
Yes.
Even though you've gotten approval and then 5 minutes later one can come up. Yes. I had an incident where I was flying in San Diego and we had landed at the airport to refuel, went to depart. We're under night vision goggles, and the controller gave us clearance to turn to a certain degree heading and climb to a certain altitude. We're in a helicopter. We started to climb and started to turn. And all of a sudden, I yelled at the pilot, holy shit, there was an aircraft right in front of us. I mean, literally like 150, 200 yards in front of us. And my pilot got so pissed off at the controller, started screaming at him, not really screaming, but really gave him some crap. The controller's like, what are you talking about? And well, here what it was a drug plane. And
a drug plane.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He was flying at low altitude. We were only up up at about like 1,500 AGL, and well, next thing you know, they launched the F-16s out of San Diego.
Mhm.
Now that TFR instantly became in effect,
Right.
you know, it was
Yep.
kind of cool though with the whole incident how it played out. The first, the controller kind of questioned us.
Mhm.
We said, "We got 3 people in this aircraft under night vision goggles.
Right.
We got the aircraft right in front of us." So
Yeah.
the controller asked us, said, "Can you follow it?" Because he
Yeah.
did not pick him up on his radar screen. So
Yeah.
we actually followed this aircraft, and then it was, I don't think it was 4 or 5 minutes later, he had us banked to the right. He said, "Be advised, you have 2 F-16s at your 6 o'clock." He said, "Use caution for weight turbulence." These 2 F-16s come flying through, and then we felt the turbulence.
Right.
Gosh,
They're turning and burning.
Oh my
crazy.
God. That was kind of a cool experience, though. I mean, scary,
Yeah.
but kind of a cool experience at the same time,
Yeah, and like you say, Ron's in an aircraft for his job. A helicopter. That's what he does for a living. So he can tell you a lot of these instances where airspace can change in an instant.
Mhm.
And like I say, you can check all the boxes, and something comes up, so you have no idea what's going on because we're on the low end of the totem pole. We don't have communication with a tower or anything else, and not that they would even share information like that with us anyway. So that's why I tell folks, just like I saw a video about a week ago between I think some folks saw a helicopter and a drone was following somebody off-road vehicle, and they showed a collision between the helicopter and the drone. And the first comment I said, as soon as the drone pilot saw that helicopter in the same airspace, he should have landed right away.
Yeah.
Hands down. Because the very first rule that you're going to hear is that we give way to manned aircraft. No matter
Right.
what's going on, helicopter, fixed wing, whatever it is, we have to give way. So when people talk about, that aircraft was flying below 400 feet, doesn't matter. Helicopters fly below 400 feet on a regular basis, especially if you live in an urban area and they're responding to a police call out. Guess what? They're going to be responding, and they're not going to be flying much higher than 400 feet.
Brother Steve-O, thank you for coming in, buddy.
Thank you. No guarantees.
I hear you. So, Dre, before we go to the next topic, like Ron said, so does that mean, Ron, that drug plane that you were talking about, they turn off the transponder, that way they couldn't being picked up? Is that what it is?
They even had one.
If they even have one, okay, tenfold.
Mhm.
So with this topic that we just covered, we cover which one? We cover the very first one, Dre?
Airspace,
First
and we
two.
got a little bit of TFRs
Okay.
and stuff. So what we got next? We got I can't see the banner right
So
now.
next we have restricted areas. I think we covered restricted areas, didn't we?
We'll go into real quick.
Okay.
Restricted areas, same thing. If you check, especially I would definitely check the FAA Visualize It site, and it will let you know restricted areas. And that's another thing that can change quite often. We all know about we don't fly near prisons, county jails, or possibly even local police departments.
But what about schools and the post
Well,
office?
well, schools, post office, no problem. We're talking about basically the reason why we don't fly near incarceration facilities is because of the ability to drop contraband and all this kind of wild stuff,
Correct.
drugs, weapons, whatever else. Okay, it's a safety issue for the employees and for the inmates involved. Because I know we talked about it on another forum about this guy had a job up in Central California, and he kept having issues. Is that me or is that Steve?
That's Steve.
No, that's Steve.
Okay, he kept having issues
Steve
where he
going
was
crazy.
Yeah, he's having issues where he was trying to fly near the police station, and it kept losing connection. Every time he get near, he lose connection. And I was telling people, I said, certain police departments do have internal jails, and they can apply with the FAA as being a restricted location for that purpose. I know I worked at Long Beach PD. Our jail was on the 6th floor. Okay. I worked Fontana PD. We didn't have any jails. Every time you arrest somebody, you took them straight out to the county facility, dropped them off. So there are police departments that do have jail facilities built within that department, which they can classify as a restricted airspace. Another type of restricted airspace is infrastructure, water plants, electrical plants, and so forth. Can request to be designated as restricted airspace. I have one not far from where I live at is the water. The water that comes off of the Steve, help me out. It comes across from Northern California, Southern California, the aqueduct, California aqueduct. Okay, once it comes over the mountains, through the mountains from the high desert down to where we're at in San Bernardino, 2 large pipes. It hits a facility there, about no more than about 5 miles where I live at. I can fly just to the west of it. But if I fly too close, I get it. I think on my controller says getting close to restricted area. Warning, restricted area. I can't fly directly over that water facility there, treatment facility. So I always got to be mindful of that. And even hospitals can ask for that classification. A lot of times it's up to the local facility to ask for this type of status from the FAA. 9 times out of 10, FAA will grant that unless it's I can't think of anything totally unreasonable. So it could be a hospital area, treatment plants, electrical areas, and definitely all type of places that hold correctional facilities. So like I say, even your local PD can be designated restricted airspace, flying over that facility and so forth. Go ahead, Steve. I see your hand up.
As I say, water reservoirs also.
Yeah, that's right. Water reservoir. That's the same thing. Like we go water treatment plants, water reservoir. They can ask to be classified as restricted infrastructure. So once again, you got to be mindful of where you're flying at. And like
Steve,
I say,
where is your microphone in reference to your
I know that mechanical keyboard is killing us.
Hey, Ron, Andre, it's just that Steve don't have a normal keyboard. He got a freaking typewriter that was built back in the 1800s.
No, he has a keyboard I like.
It's a Royal typewriter keyboard.
It's a mechanical keyboard that does the clicking, and I like those myself. That way you hit the keys and stuff.
Yeah.
So
whatever you do, don't turn on your dot matrix printer.
You really?
It's a gaming keyboard.
Yeah, I like those type of keyboards. I love them. So like I said, there's a lot of things.
Wireless is coming Monday.
Yeah. So like I said again, a lot of facilities in your local area can be designated as restricted airspace. And that's another reason why you need to check with several different apps or websites to check what is restricted in your area.
Yeah.
Because it might be something that you're not aware of, and you're out there. And the worst case is, I think it was a while back, somebody had on YouTube where they were flying towards a bridge, and it was classified restricted area. Instead of the guy bringing it back right away, he continued to fly towards it, and you saw the drone slowly go down, went underwater. And I say you have to rack that up to pilot error, because he refused to acknowledge the message on his screen and didn't check what was restricted airspace where he was flying, and he lost the drone.
Yeah.
And go from there. So like I say, it's just a lot of things goes on the responsibility list of the pilot themselves of where you're flying and stuff.
So
what we got next?
We cover airspace, TFR, restricted areas. Now we're down to pre-flight, also checklist, flying checklist.
Okay. We'll put pre-flight and checklist together.
Yes.
And I'll use myself as an example in this.
I've actually, before you start, I've actually learned a lot. Hey, Mike B, aka the Drone Ranger, how you doing, buddy? Thomas Ariel, Flying Media, how you doing, bro? Thank you for being here. I have learned that from you also to kind of have a sheet of paper. You know what I mean? To kind of write down exactly where I'm going to fly or what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm still new to it, but I'm writing down, that way I don't forget, because I might forget how to, I need to do something or check something. But anyway, go ahead.
Now, like I said, I'll use myself as an example, and everybody may have a different method of how they do it. And I just want to encourage everyone to have some type of a pre-flight checklist or pre-flight whatever routine that you have. And as I said before, when I get called or contacted to do work, one of the first things I do is jump on Google Maps. And I go on Google Maps, type in where I'm going. One thing, I need to know where I'm going, how I get there, like anything else. I don't know every street in different cities I go to. So I got to figure out how I'm going to get there and so forth. The second thing I look at,
I'm sorry, Dre. I'm not laughing at
I hear
you.
Steve.
I'm laughing at that dinosaur keyboard that people have, and I love it. But it's loud as shit.
Yeah.
It really is loud.
Yeah, I hear you too.
Love you, brother Steve.
So as I tell people all the time, I said, use all the resources you have at hand. All of us in here have either a phone that you bought within the last 5-6 years. So I know everybody here either has Google or has Safari on your iOS map. So don't sit there and say, I don't know where I'm going, whatever. That's part of my pre-flight checklist. Know where I'm going to be at and go from there. What I look at Google for me is my first look at the area where what I'm looking for is hazards. I'm looking for high tension power lines. I'm looking for, like I say, other type of infrastructure I got to look out for. I'm looking for terrain. What's the elevation of the hills? Are there hills around? Where I live at, there's mountain ranges all around Southern California. So I'm looking at what's the elevation of these mountains. So I get out there and so forth. So I'm looking for these things for me to give me an idea of what I may encounter when I get out to a location. The second thing I do is that's when I start checking my airspace. What's the airspace for that area? Okay. Am I going to need to get LANC approval? Do I need to call the FAA to get special authorization to fly that area and so forth? A lot of times when you deal with people for jobs, you hope they have some kind of knowledge of these things that you're going to be doing because they're hiring you to do a job. Many times you'll find folks that don't have a clue about airspace to know much to tell you what to look out for. So, like again, you're the pilot in charge, PIC. You're the pilot in command. It is your responsibility to check all these things before you fly that drone.
Correct.
Okay. So, like I say again, check out where you're going. Find out what your terrains are. Find out what your hazards are before you can get to the site. Check for your if you need LANC to see if you need to even ask for a special authorization for the FAA. Now, those may take a while, Adrian. Sometimes when you ask for a special authorization from the FAA, for some reason, those may take anywhere from 5 days to 90 days.
Yes.
That you have to wait for those to come through.
Those are some of the ones that I was talking about earlier before you started that I've actually literally heard, and I've even read on Google because I get some emails about drones updates, through like Google and stuff like that through my email. Yeah. And it said that some of those can actually take again between a few minutes, few hours, days, even months, sometimes even years, depending on what it is.
Yeah. So, like I said, usually, and one thing good about it with the FAA, they will call you. They will call you, or they'll give you a number to call them. And for the most part, I have had nothing but positive encounters with these people. They want to help you as much as they can. They'll even walk you through the process as far as how to fill out a authorization request and everything else. And they'll email chain you back and forth on what needs to go on. So, like I say, don't get uptight if you need to talk to the FAA. There have been some very helpful people. I've talked to folks out of Seattle, Ohio, whatever. You never know who you're going to be talking to and where they're at. It's not going to just be somebody local sometimes. It might be somebody halfway across the country that you may be talking with. So, like I say, it's, that's all part of your pre-flight, what you might need to do. And they try to, streamline the process as much as possible going from there as far as that goes. Once you get on site, this is my thing I do before I take the drone out, the box, bag, whatever. I walk my site as much as possible. I physically walk the site. And the reason why I do that, even when you look at Google Maps and everything else, they can't really accurately tell you terrain for elevation. When you go out to a job or even you fly for fun, you want to fly from the highest elevation possible. And the reason why is because if you have other hazards out there, you don't want to be below those hazards if all possible. You want to be at the highest. So, like I said, I have a job out in Beaumont, California, the Amazon buildings. It's sloped, so I'm flying up, I say, highest point on the job site. To the west of me.
New job that you're taking in, right?
Yeah, new job I have now.
Okay.
So I say to the west of me, about a quarter mile away, I have some high tension power lines. The high tension power lines are right about 98 to 100 feet high from the base of the ground where they're at 100 feet high. So I'm basically where that one's at, I'm almost even plane. So I know when I set my drone up, if I'm flying autonomously or I'm flying manually, I know my ceiling level is going to be somewhere around 110 feet. I don't need to go below 110 feet. If I do, I need to make sure where I'm at on that site. I know I got those high tension wires over to that side, so that's my biggest hazard. The rest of the site is flat. They've already graded the mountains down and everything else. So I know if I'm flying below that level and I start turning towards that area, I need to be wary because I could nick a line. Worst case, crash into one of the structures because there's like 6 of those structures along that west side perimeter of the job site. So that tells me while I'm out there, that's my number one hazard at that point. So I got to be cognizant of that while I'm out flying. And if I do it manually or autonomously, I got to set my elevations at a certain level to avoid that hazard.
Now, like Aldia said, he said that Google Map is also another great way to scout a job location, right?
Yes, that's what I say. That's my initial thing I do. I scout it. Like the job I'm doing tomorrow, it's a commercial retail plaza, but it's surrounded by neighborhoods, regular residential housing. So my initial flights, no big deal. Those people won't never hear me or see me because I'll be flying somewhere between 300-400 feet, taking pictures of this retail center. Okay. Other than that, once I get close in, I'm flying about 100 feet, getting roof line shots, and I'll be almost on the property at that point. I won't be over in the neighborhoods. So as I say, using Google Maps gives you an idea where you're at, where your hazards potentially can be at. So when you get on the site and you walk around it, like tomorrow, when I pull up to the site, I will walk around this plaza to see trees where they're hanging at, overhanging in the alleyway near the loading dock area. Are they over here? How tall the palm trees out in California? In Florida, you guys got palm trees. They like those in those commercial plazas. And palm trees can easily be 100 feet, easily be 100 feet high. So once again, you got to be worried as you're transversing across, trying to get shots. You don't want to crash in one of these palm fronds, or one of the trees itself, because, like I said, because you're flying too low, or you got to adjust where you're at, move forward, or move behind the tree and go from there. So these are things you need to be mindful of at all times. That's why you walk the entire site, because everybody knows where you take off at. There's going to be blind spots. Okay, I don't care who you are, whatever. There's going to be blind spots when you fly. Okay, not that I fly intentionally to be beyond line of sight. It just might be a blind spot. I'm behind a tree somewhere on the other side of the building. Okay, boom, blind spot. I'm only there for maybe a few seconds, whatever, and I come out and drone's right there. And you need to be in that habit of looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. Like I say, you're trying to keep a track of where your drone is at, visual line of sight. And a lot of folks get in a habit where they're always like this the whole time. And guess what? Our drones only have this much of a viewpoint. And when you're flying sideways, you're not going to see that branch come up. Because remember, no matter how fast a tablet that you have, there's still a certain amount of delay. So when you actually hit that branch and you see you hit that branch, you're talking about what, 1 or 2 seconds? That's all it takes. The drone's coming down. You know, just
Yep.
that quick. Drone's coming down. So that's why you gotta always get in the habit of looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, trying to keep an eye on that drone. Because there is going to be blind spots that you're going to have on certain jobs, or when you're flying for fun. You fly out somewhere and you get behind maybe a hill or something like that for a brief little bit of time, and it pops out again, and so forth. So those are different things that you have to worry about when you go out as far as your pre-check. Now, I'm just talking about just the site itself. As far as you pre-checking your drone, that is something that you need to establish as a ritual. You know,
Yep.
everybody may be different. You know, for me, props, number one thing, put them on, fill them out, hand touch them. Like I say, our fingers are the best thing to detect nicks and burrows on your props and stuff.
Yep.
Our eyes, especially like me and Ron and Steve, we getting old. Okay, we don't see everything right away. So you run them fingers along them props when you take it out a box, the bag, or whatever. Unfold those foldable props, or like me, if I got my Phantom, run along those edges to fill those burrows and stuff. And like I said, just out of habit, you put them on, boom, put them on, boom, you fill them.
Yeah.
That way is one of the quickest way for you to determine if you have a bad prop, because you don't want to figure out you got a bad prop 200 or 300 feet in the air.
Exactly.
200 or 300 feet in the air, and then that drone comes down, or like I say, it's flying weird, and you're getting frustrated, and here you are trying to make adjustments on the controller, because first thing in our mind is, my drone's fine. Last time I flew it flew great.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. It could be something as a bad prop. Come back, change it out. So you want to do that. For me, the next thing I always want to check is I insert my battery. If it's my old Phantoms, I do the push it in, try to pull it out. You want to make sure it's locked in there. Because I've had a drone come down. I'm flying, I just took it off. It's up maybe about 98 feet. All of a sudden I hear dead silence. And by the time I look up and track the drone, it's coming down, boom, smashed to bits. Smashed to bits.
Oh, wow.
And all it was is because the battery didn't seat all the way.
Yeah.
Once it took off, I guess it got a little gap in there, and it came down.
So the battery was touching. It was good enough to power the drone,
right?
But the remote did not alert you to let you know the battery was loose or anything.
No, I got no warning from the remote. Like I said, once you have a battery issue, it's done. The bird's coming down, and just like guys talking about, with the old known problem with the Mavic 2 Pro. You get a little swollen battery, and that thing pops up. Guess what? Ain't enough time to. Once the battery pops up, you lost control. You lost signal. So there ain't gonna be no message telling you, hey, the battery's slipping out. It's gonna be. That's it. You're gonna hear dead silence if it's that close to you. Other than that, all you're gonna know is you got a blank screen and that bird has went down somewhere, and that's it. So, like I say, always when you insert your batteries, no matter which way you do it. Make sure the battery is seated in there firmly, no matter what you do. You gotta have a good seat on your batteries and stuff. Because just like our batteries are fuel. If it's like Ron can tell you, that helicopter, the fuel is probably one of the most important thing. Anything else, they don't want no fuel leaks, and they don't want nothing less than a full tank.
All right.
That's the last thing I do before I get in is I do a final. The pilot does his walk around, his check.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then as he does a startup, I'm watching engine 1, engine 2, and I'm the last one to get in, but I'll do a final walk around
right
before I get in.
So if I'm not mistaken, the checklist, the pre-flight and checklist is pretty much like what I do on a daily basis. I do a pre-trip inspection on my truck.
Right.
Make sure that everything, make sure that it's all cooling is ready, the oil, transmission. I got fuel. Believe it or not, I've left the yard a couple of times without freaking fuel. That I'm about to run out. I have to come right back. Check my air pressure, all that good stuff.
Yep, like you said, you got to do that build up the pressure, and then you got to go to the minimized level of pressure on them air brakes. You got to do all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So like I say, it's all about. Like I say, it becomes you need to develop a habit, and that's when the hard thing is, because a lot of guys talk about, oh man, I saw this and I wanted to get the drone up real fast to get that shot. And that's when you break that habit. you get in a hurry. Get in a hurry, you skip things, and then that's when things happen. Go ahead, Sean.
I want to add a couple things to that, just from a drone channel point of view. I get a lot of comments of, well, I put my drone up in the air. So I had a couple situations from viewers on my channel where the return to home altitude was not set correctly. So they flew around a statue, and they lost connection to the drone because there's a big concrete statue between them and their drone, and their drone lost connection, and it flew up to 150 feet. Well, the statue was like 300 feet taller, 150 feet taller, however tall it was taller than their return to home, and that drone just beelined right into the statue. And they were mad that it was a Paradenofi, and they were like so mad that it didn't have obstacle avoidance. And I was like, obstacle avoidance didn't have anything to do with it. It was
Right.
Your return to home was wrong.
Right.
And then the other thing that people, I think, screw up a lot is they forget to take the gimbal cover off before they turn their drone on. And so they're I had to send a drone. It was still under warranty. I got to send it in, and they swapped out the gimbal and sent it back. But I was just updating the drone in my office. I wasn't even flying anywhere. I was just getting firmware updates, and I turned it on, and all of a sudden my gimbal just went limp, and it's because it burned out the batteries, or it burned out the motors on my gimbal because I forgot to take that gimbal cover off.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I was going to mention is the props. You mentioned feeling like for nicks.
Yes.
But when we put our foldable drones in our bags, a lot of times those propellers can kind of unseat themselves. So you need to make sure that those are fully rotated or fully clicked in before you take off. Because as soon as that thing starts spinning,
right.
I mean, it starts vibrating.
Yep.
And then it'll just vibrate itself loose.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about. 9 times out of 10, when you have a nick on the folding props, is usually between when you're taking it out of the bag or putting it in the bag. It usually doesn't happen during flight. It's our own fault putting it in there, and we don't realize it and stuff. And I always got to be careful. Even with mine, I have cut out boxes for mine, and I still got to worry about like shoving it in there too hard or whatever. Yep. I've been a prop. You keep bending, eventually it'll crack. Bend the tips or whatever. So now I got a prop that's got a big tip on it or whatever because I didn't seat it in there properly, take care of the props, line them up and everything. So there's a lot of little things. And that's why I say you have to create a routine for yourself of what you check every time you fly.
Now,
catch these little things.
Now, one thing I do, Dre, is that I do have the prop guards for every single one of my drones. If it's either the rubber one or the one that clips in to the arms, you know what I mean, and the bottom ones. That way, I don't have to, like when I put it in the bag of the case, my props are not being pinched or hit against anything. They just stored away. So before I actually even arm the motors, I actually unfold them. I don't know about you guys, but I unfold my props that way because if you don't do it, it kind of vibrates the motor a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's not wear and tear on the motors.
Right. And I know that's been an issue with the Autel drones, that if you don't unfold the props, it causes stress fractures on the frame. And that's on the two big Autels, the 6K and the 8K have had stress. I think Al Diaz had that. I don't know if that was the reason why, but he can attest that the frame itself or the casing gets stress fractures.
Yeah.
And I think
that was on both drones. That was on both drones. The first one, and then when they sent him another one, they both had those cracks on it.
And I believe it was 808, the guy in Hawaii said that about make sure you spread those props out. That's what I say. If you're feeling them, you got to spread them out. If you feel them props, you spread them out. And like for me, I still find my phantom a lot. So same thing. Once I set them on there, lock them in, I do the little quick feel them out and stuff. So it's a continuous thing that you have to think about each time. And like I said, it's all about not getting too much in a hurry is one of the biggest things. Take your time, go through your procedures, and that way you're more likely to have successful flights instead of having those moments. And then you got to go back and realize pilot is actually pilot error before you even got off the ground.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that you mentioned there, Dre, that's real important, you mentioned, and so did Sean, is about the return to home.
Yes.
I would probably say that is the biggest forget thing that most pilots forget about. Because anytime I'm flying, especially like you're saying with palm trees, I have my return to home for the job site over there. I know I have a set of lists that I've written out. So I'm at a location, I put it in there, 150 feet for return to home over there. Because I know I'm going to clear a 125-foot palm tree, and I'm going to clear a tower crane that if I lose signal on the other tower crane with the construction that's going on.
Yep.
Yeah. I would as a seasoned YouTuber, I'm just kidding. I would just encourage people not to rely on return to home at all. Like learn how to like Draymond was talking about, like planning out your shot. Just plan on your last shots being right next to you. You know, like your first shot, go out as far as you need to, but make your way back to your home.
Yes.
Because the times that I've screwed up was when I had to get that last shot, or I had to, I was like, especially when I was doing like panorama photography, and I was like taking 48 pictures, and I'd gotten like 42 of them, and I got that battery warning, return to home, and I canceled the return to home, and I was like, I just got 6 more shots, and so I'm turning the drone, taking a picture, turning the drone, taking a picture, but the a lot of times return to home can really screw up, especially if like your drone loses GPS connection while it's in the air. Like if there's some kind of weird, you get by power lines or something.
Right.
I had my DJI FPV drone the other day change the home point. It lost GPS connection.
Wow.
It was over top of a ball field with like hundreds of light poles and fences and nets and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it said the home point has been updated. I turned that drone around, pointed it at myself, and I just flew it right back to where I started over, because there's no way I'm having my drone, my $1,500 drone, like landing itself on top of a light pole or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good segue, Sean, because that's the next thing we're talking about, the flight management. And that is something, especially if you plan on doing commercial work or even freelance work, whatever you want to call it, is that you want to map out your shots and work your way farthest to closest. Okay. And just like Sean was just saying, that the reason why you want to do that, because as you get through all these shots and you do get that, I keep mine at 30% warning, factory default, 30%.
Yep.
You get that warning, so okay, the bird's only a couple 100 feet from me. You guys got to bring it over and land it. So I'm pretty good as far as returning to home, no matter what may do. If I do it myself, or I let the drone come back on the push of the button, or whatever the case may be. But like I say, that's about being your flight maintenance, knowing where you want your shots to be at, and work your way back towards yourself. And that way you have less issues on trying to get back from home. And we all know that there are people out here who do it on purpose for whatever reasons, stress the drone out to it almost down to zero, and go from there. And that's always another issue when we see people out here complaining about how the drone did this and that. And two things like Sean brought up, I asked them, how many satellites did you have and how much battery percentage did you have? And they talking, and I've heard in the last couple of months since the holidays, the two things I've heard is, I don't know how many satellites I had because I didn't pay attention. And two, well, I just flew the battery the other day and I put it back in there. I said, you didn't put a full charge battery in, and it's been sitting for a couple of days, and you didn't check where it actually was? I said, that's on you. That's pilot error right there. I said, you are causing this issue, because we all know these batteries discharge. If you don't set it for a long period of time, they will automatically start discharging within about 72 hours.
Yep. They'll
start discharging. So when you last flew it on Wednesday, and now today is Saturday, and you think, oh, I hit the button, it showed like halfway. Well, that's no real gauge of how much is in the battery. You put it in and you're flying, all of a sudden you get this warning, battery warning, and you just took it up in the air.
Yep.
And that's what I tell folks, this is about you being flight management.
Yep.
Making sure you have a full battery for each flight. Full batteries. Don't take off with half batteries, all that kind of stuff. Because same thing again, the battery usage is dependent upon how you're flying. If you're flying it hard, flying it fast, whatever the case may be, you are okay. And you gotta say you're draining the battery faster. And like I said, on a battery that is not fully charged, is gonna discharge faster.
Yep.
And people don't realize that. Okay, when I started with a 99%, 100% battery, you know, I tell about time you get that bird in the air and you get it where it wants to go, you've already down to about 90%, 89% already. Just to take off and get to your first point. And you know, coming back home, it's going to chew up another at least 7-8% coming back home. So those are that's why I tell folks that don't ignore those warnings. Those warnings will save you and your drone a lot of heartache down the road. And that goes to our next point as far as battery maintenance. You know, DJI sets certain parameters for a reason. Everybody says, oh, it's supposed to do 30-something minutes. You know, that's factory ideal conditions, and it may not even be flight tested for that many minutes to fly. It might just be a mathematical calculation of what they say is possible to fly that far, that long, or whatever. I said, you need to be mindful when that thing says, you know, 30% or wherever you may have it at, make sure you have enough to get it back home in a reasonable amount of time. Because once you get those low levels, you're putting extra strain on the battery itself. And then you wonder why a battery that you bought brand new seems to decrease in its ability to recharge to a full 100% charge. All of a sudden, you got batteries that only charge up to about 95%, 90%.
Yep.
Is because I say, just like any other batteries, any kind of rechargeable battery, it starts to hit. We call it creating a resistance to be fully charged and stuff. So that's just the natural course of batteries in itself. So like I said, when you're out here, there are certain folks who bring it, you know, that brings the drone back, and we actually can probably see the battery taking deep breaths, you know, like, you know, and you're like, man, that battery says, screw this, man. I'm not putting up with this mess very long. And as you know, you shorten the life of the battery.
Yeah,
Dre, I've come to the conclusion that DJI has put up the drones up to the Space Lab station, and they tested up there in zero gravity and no resistance, and that's how they get that time frame.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I tell folks, you know, when we talk about, you know, the new drones and everything else, is that, to me, this is my personal thought. We're at a point now that we've had 4K on drones for what, 5 years?
Yeah,
4K has been on all our drones pretty much for 5 years. And so I don't see a whole lot going further down the road. I mean, we will, but as far as mass marketing, I think 4K is going to be the standard for quite a few more years. And two reasons for that is that most of us barely have computers that can handle the 4K footage as it is, let alone trying to go to 6K or 8K or whatever else is next around the corner. So I don't see just like when Autel came out with their 8K, everybody got all excited, 8K. And what happened? Half the folks couldn't even handle the footage. They were dragging their computers into the ground and everything else. So just like, what was the big thing in TVs a few years ago was the 3D. Remember when 3D was a really big thing about home TVs and stuff? Oh, 3D this, 3D. We got 3D Blu-ray player. We got 3D this. And how many 3D TVs you see advertised today?
None.
None. You know. So like I said, there'll always be niches for certain things, but I think for the masses, like anything else, 4K is going to be the standard for a while, and namely because people who want to produce videos or whatever else for whatever reason, that's where computers are just getting to, where they can comfortably manage to edit 4K footage.
So basically, Dre, this one you covered battery maintenance, right?
Yes, battery maintenance on that one. That's why I said the only thing we look forward to is there's more battery power as far as longevity for our batteries, and that's about it that we can look forward to.
All right, go ahead, Ron. You're about to say something?
Yeah, there's two things I wanted to touch on, and I hope I don't create as much anger and animosity as I did on a forum. Two things that irritate me is one, and again, just because of the job I do, but it's been 2 to 3 years, about 2.5 years, on the eastern side of the state, going into a hospital, and we're starting a descent. And my job, even though I'm in the back, I'm facing aft, I do have a big window on my right side. Technically, the last 30 to 45 seconds, unless 100% absolutely necessary that I have my eyes taking care of the patient, my eyeballs are supposed to be out the window, helping that pilot on the last 30 to 60 seconds. Thank God I did that day. I looked out and I screamed, drone, same level, 10 o'clock. We're coming into a hospital, and I was able to spin around. I looked at the altimeter. We're at 700 AGL.
Wow.
We're in a controlled airspace.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 700 feet. Okay, violation number 2.
Right.
And do you remember when that's when I had my Phantom? I initially had my Phantom, and I went on to that Phantom pilots website or forum.
Mm-hmm.
I put out just a nice, friendly, hey guys, come on, let's pay attention. And I kind of explained the story a little bit in general. The hate mail, the hate return I got was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The attitude I've got, well, I didn't know I needed clearance to be around a hospital helipad and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, there wasn't any kind of, Lance wasn't out at the time.
Right.
And, the second thing was I needed approval to be around a hospital helipad. Thirdly, the pilot himself was in clear violation. He was inside of an airspace. He was a 700 AGL,
Mm-hmm.
and, like I said, a lot of people think, a small little drone is not going to hurt this gigantic helicopter.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit.
Yep.
You get certain helicopters that have an air take
Yes.
up front.
Mm-hmm.
Inside that air take, you get a bunch of that plastic and whatever that goes into the air intake. It's into that engine that causes engine disintegration.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize this.
Right.
The other one that bothers me the most is, and I've heard this recently within the last couple of weeks, not once but twice, when they talk about flying along the ocean. I have nothing to worry about. There's no aircraft out around the ocean. Again, my response is bullshit. Twice I've been out, and you guys ought to know, you and Steve being out on the coast, but I've been up on the Oregon coast, not once but twice, and I've been up on a cliff, climbing up to 30 feet, going out, straight out, and next thing you know, here comes the U.S. Coast Guard flying the coast, hauling ass, and thank God I saw them, and I don't have the like the newer model, like the Air 2 or whatever. That's
ADBS system.
Yep. Yeah. I don't have that. Thank God I spotted them, but I hurry up and I descended way down because I knew I didn't have enough time to bring it back in. But they were at the same. They were flying 50 feet off the ground.
Right.
Yeah. Along that cliff line. Yeah. So the whole thing is when you talk about restrictions, airspace, and whatnot, a lot of times it's attitude of other people. That, like I said, that one day I just simply said, hey guys, let's be responsible, in the city and our own hospitals. And you wouldn't believe the flack I got back. And I'll tell you what, I'll never go back on that forum again.
Yeah, like I said, everybody wants to get mad talking about we don't want anybody being drone police. But I always tell people, I said, if we don't police our own, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And when the FAA and all these different people from the FCC, and they're talking about all the different things, potentially blocking DJI and blocking Chinese drones and all this kind of stuff, all they want to hear is all the negative stories. They don't care about the tens of thousands of flights that have occurred with no incidents and all the responsible things and all the good things drones have done, helping people, helping the different industries to get better, work safer, all that kind of stuff. All they focus on is the negative things that have happened. And they say, we have to make more restrictions. We can't trust the public to be responsible.
Yeah. And I understand what you're saying, Dre, and Ron, from your forum that you said people were acting a jackass. But look at what Fourth State Aerial Photography said. He said that he was a Best Buy, and then he heard this guy's about to get a drone, and he's about to fly. Like he explained, he said he wanted to say something, but he didn't. If it was me, I would have said something.
Yeah.
I think the incidences that happen the most,
and you don't have to be a jackass. You could simply just give him a little bit of advice. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Probably January and February, right after Christmas, when XYZ person gets that Christmas drone, like, oh, I want to go out and fly. They haven't a clue.
Well, that's why I said begin this stream, Ron. As I said, that now we're hearing all the stories of crash drones and this and that, and 9 times out of 10 is because they don't know the guidelines, rules, regulations. They have not read up or even spent enough time on YouTube to know the ins and outs of the drone. Like I was talking about the guy that was complaining that DJI is falsely advertising about Active Track and how he crashed his Mavic 3. And I typed on the Facebook forum, I said, I'm not going to, I said, let me point out the obvious. And I went 1, FAA rules, pilot in command must always have control of the drone at all times. And then I said 2, question mark, did you have control of the drone? 3, I typed out the DJI disclaimer off their own information pamphlet that's in the box that says, using Active Track, 1, make sure you're in a high contrast area. 2, it talks about something else. And then 3, it says, be wary of obstacles and hazards.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain to the guy, he said, well, I said, dude, it's the same thing with Teslas. Teslas have autonomous system. The car can drive itself, but Tesla tells you themselves you are supposed to remain in control of that vehicle.
Correct.
Our state laws state that on any public road, the driver must maintain control of that vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not, like I told the guy, I said, I'm not drunk. I'm just stating what the facts are. I didn't say the guy was wrong. And I explained to somebody, I'll get right to you, Sean. And I explained to the guy,
I'll be right back.
When Active Track is put out by whoever, DJI, Autel, whoever it is, even Skydio, they say they can do these things, but they don't really spell out that you can Active Track a subject, somebody else. But you as the operator, this is what they don't say in clear, must still be in control of the drone. So you can Active Track your buddy riding a dirt bike, running, whatever case is. It is not meant to be a selfie thing. You must always be in control of the drone. And that's what people fail to understand. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so I have like 4 things to say since I've been listening. Number 1, Ron, when you were talking about the coming down to the hospital, like coming down to the helipad, and there was a drone right to your right. I think, like, I've been doing a YouTube channel, but I've also been watching YouTube channels a lot. And I see a lot of YouTubers, they talk about how like they talk about how the gray areas of AGL, and like you can fly 400 feet above whatever you took off from. So they'll say, like, I can get on a 300-foot tall building and then fly 400 feet up from that. But they don't realize that there are, helicopters, like, and like news channels, and like you said, the ocean and hospitals. Like the other rule that has to be there is if there's a manned vehicle, like if there's a manned aircraft in the area, you've got to come down.
Yes.
But a lot of people, like, just like this whole whether I have to wear a mask or not in the store I'm walking into, like, you need to respect the people that are around you, whether you think it's taking away your freedom or not. Like, if if I'm going into a store and there's a big sign in the front of the store that says, you don't come in here and wear a mask, if you're not wearing a mask, or if you're not wearing like for years, for me, like it was no shoes, no shirt, no service. Like those are the rules of the establishment that we need to respect. If we're going to fly our toy or we're going to fly our camera in, even like a professional camera, if we're going to fly that in airspace that humans, like for one, you guys are flying a helicopter. You're also like trying to save a life. Like it's not like, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like you
in that situation,
need to respect your.
And I get what you're saying, but I know, my pilot didn't realize that, but that instantly came into my mind of we were probably about a half mile out from the hospital itself. And I know for a fact that drone was well in excess of 400 feet above any structure at that current position. Yeah. If he would have been at the building beside the hospital, that would have been a different story.
Yeah.
Because he probably only would have been about 200 feet above that building.
Yeah.
But in that situation, though, he was 500-600 feet easy above any building in that particular thing. It was scary. When I looked out the window, like, boom, it was a phantom. I could see it. Plain as day.
Everybody on that forum should have respected you as the pilot.
Everybody was nasty.
Like, I'm glad that you're here to so that we can hear the pilot's point of view, because a lot of times we just have these YouTube channels, we talk about drone safety, but we don't hear, like, my brother's a pilot. So like I hear things from like all of his like fears of drones, fears of like idiots behind the wheel. Like I get frustrated when I'm at a stop sign and people don't stop, or people don't use their turn signal and pull out right in front of me. Like those are the things that annoy me. I can't imagine being a pilot and having a drone fly through my jet engine, or hit my prop.
A lot of people don't realize how sensitive helicopters are. I mean, I have been in the aircraft and we've had bird strikes, and we've done, there's certain times, certain situations that you have where they say land immediately, or depending on the situation, land as soon as possible.
Yep.
And the last bird strike I was on, we landed as soon as possible. That aircraft was not permitted to leave until the mechanic come out and thoroughly inspected every single blade, because of so much of a certain degree of scratch, and I'm talking scratch, not gouge, scratch on the blades can cause an unbalance.
Right.
Yep.
And people don't realize that.
Yeah, and so like
drone can cause a hell of a gouge in an aircraft.
Yeah.
And like we fly our drones and hit a tiny little branch, and our drone is grounded. Like our drone to your helicopter is a branch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sit and think about the density of. Let's use a phantom. It's a solid, hard object. Okay. We're flying at 150 to 175 mile an hour. One of our neighboring programs, when I lived back in Pennsylvania, hit two ducks. Both those ducks come through not a flat, but an arced or a bowed windshield, come through the windshield, broke the pilot's shoulder, went back through the wall that separates from the cabin to the rear of the aircraft, and went back and hit one of the medics in the back. Thank God.
You said a duck?
Two ducks.
Holy crap.
I hope you cook tomorrow.
we actually had a safety seminar not long after that, and we actually invited that flight crew to come down to our safety seminar and talk to us, like, okay, this happened. How did you guys react? How did you do situational awareness? How did you do, how did you plan things from that point on? Because what had happened was when one of the ducks hit in the particular aircraft that they're at, your throttles were right here, just slightly above your shoulder height. Thank God for the detent buttons, but that duck went back and hit both those throttles and threw them back to idle. And those throttles will only go back to idle until you hit the detent button, then you can throw it all the way back. And the pilot's wondering, why the hell am I losing power?
Holy crap.
And all of a sudden, he looked up like, oh, shit, both my throttles are back at idle, and here he am, threw them back up.
Yeah.
But it's unbelievable. What the whole point I'm trying to make is that's a soft little duck.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what a hard plastic, and there's some metal in there. Think about what a good-sized drone is going to do.
When you're telling that story, Ron, all I kept thinking of the movie Black Hawk Down. I said, I wait if you tell me you slid the door open, broke out the minigun, and shot it out of the air.
I was thinking of Star Wars, where Anakin Skywalker like did all this little mojo, and then all of a sudden he pushed it forward.
I'm just thinking of Ron saying, "I got it. Don't worry about it."
One other thing I just wanted to bring up, you were talking about aircraft with ADSB and the newer drones having it. Military aircraft does not transmit a signal. All the aircraft that flies up and down the coast here, because we get them coming out of Camp Pendleton. I'm probably less than 10 miles from the Marine Corps Air Station, Camp Pendleton. And they run up and down the coast, just like Ron was talking about U.S. Coast Guard. They'll be coming down across the harbor over here, and they'll be on the deck and just straight out flying, especially when you get the gunships and they're out there practicing. Those things are doing 190 knots. And I mean, you could be out there in this bingo and take that thing right out.
I've been in the air, like on my Air 2 and my Air 2S. It works. But I've been in the air and I've heard an aircraft, and I looked over and saw the aircraft, and so I brought my drone down, and that drone never told me that aircraft was there. Usually if there's like an aircraft,
a single engine, like a personal aircraft.
Well, there's a small airport where people learn how to fly, and it was one of those little prop planes.
Because not everybody around here, because I live not too far from John Wayne Airport, Santa Ana, Orange County. And there's a lot of private planes out of there. And then we also get coming out of Corona and also out of Norco and Fullerton, which Dre is real familiar with. But those are small airports, and especially the home builders and restoring aircraft and stuff. Half those aircraft don't have it on it, even though they were supposed to.
Right.
Yeah, and I live pretty close, about maybe 5-6 miles away from the airport that the Blue Angels take off of a lot, and one of them died right near my house. But man, the jets are gone before you can even hear them. So I can't imagine what my drone would do to a jet, but what a jet would do to my drone at the same time. Like that would just be a horrible situation.
So is that pretty much all the topics right there, Dre?
No, we got the last one, the visual line of sight.
Okay.
And we're gonna go over that. I'm gonna try to keep it short so we can have a little Q&A or whatever we want to talk about from there. Basically, visual line of sight has probably been the most misunderstood part of flying drones than anything else. And we have seen examples of this through numerous YouTube posts and so forth. Some people have been actually contacted because of their activities and whatever else. But I wish Vic Moss is here because like you could probably tap on this a lot more.
I actually invited him, but he said that he was busy.
Right. Yeah. I can say the way it is exactly worded. I don't have it right in front of me, but the FAA states, as far as visual line of sight, is basically maintaining the sight of the drone at all times. Like I tell people, I deal in, try to be realistic and say, the way we operate drones, like I say, it's an up-down thing. So right there, you're not actually watching the drone 100% all the time, because you do look down at your screen, you look up. And that's even talked about when you look at the study material as far as taking the Part 107 test. They tell you about how do you check the sky. And they talk about using a blink method. And probably Steve probably was taught this in the Air Force, as far as you look across the sky. If you look with your straight eyes, you'll miss something. But if you blink like a shutter, it'll pop into your visual cue a lot easier. So visual line of sight is something we want to try to always encourage and always think about when you're out there flying. So that way, if you are contacted by law enforcement, so to speak, that's one of the key things they're going to hit you up, because people say, well, it was flying over here. And you're going to say, no, my drone was flying over here. And that's why I say things like having air data helps you, covers you, because it keeps all your records intact for you. Use of visual observers, which is also a highly misunderstood thing in the FAA rule books. The visual observer is basically just a second pair of eyes. It is not your buddy down the road on a phone or on a walkie-talkie telling you he's picking up where you left off. Your visual observer is supposed to be within a voice carry of you, helping you keep visual line of sight. It doesn't replace you. It is just a second set of eyes to assist you. To help you from not getting in trouble areas, hazards, and so forth. And I think a lot of people have has misused that. And once again, it comes down to really reading information and applying it properly. And that's why I tell folks, I said, if we don't police ourselves, somebody else will. And I know that we're talking about the other day I was on a webinar with this group, and they're talking about how beyond line of sight is just beyond the horizon. It's going to be coming. No one's put a date on it, but I would say within this next decade, beyond line of sight. Don't know if it's going to be for regular pilots or just for people doing deliveries or other type of work with drones, but beyond line of sight probably will be in effect by the end of this decade. So like I told somebody today, I said, well, the way we have to look at this, we know the regulations are always slow behind the technology, but we still have to conduct ourselves with the current regulations that are in place. Just because we think it's not reasonable or whatever is not an excuse not to abide by it. And you can use, just like we do in traffic, speed limit 65, whatever, but most of us drive 70, 75 until the flashing lights are behind us and then we're all tapping the brakes. And we all have to admit we were speeding and we know we were speeding. So now we got to pay the price for doing what we know we shouldn't have been doing. So I say visual line of sight, like I said, visual line of sight is something you need to maintain. And if you have a spotter, I know it's a whole nother ball game. We're talking about FPV pilots, and that is something that's been in the FAA guidelines from day one because of the nature of FPV, the way it's done and flown. A visual observer has always supposed to have been there. I'm not even going to get into it or who does and who whatever, but that's the way the rules are stated and so forth. So that's my tidbit for tonight. And I'll tell everybody again that we're going to have discussions like this. And like next week, we might go into actual control of the drone, how you fly, learn to fly smoother and more cinematic and so forth. So if you guys have questions about things, send them to Adrian. He will come up with a list and we'll invite people on here. I'm trying to get a hold of Jevin Adobe or him or Jake Sloan to come on here so we can get those guys. They do this for a living. They do TV commercials and everything else, and flying smooth and cinematic is how they make their money. So we're trying to get people at that level onto the show to help us become better pilots. That's what I say. That's what I'm always here for, to allow us to become better pilots. To only become better pilots is know what the rules are and the regulations are and make sure we're abiding by them. And then as everything else, putting time in on the sticks, just like anything else you do in life. The more time you put into it, the more it becomes second nature, the more it becomes more of a habit and a routine for you. So I'm going to turn it back over to Adrian, and you can have the last 20 minutes, bud.
Can I say something?
All right.
Go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead, Sean.
So the other day when we had Vic on, was that last week or was that 2 weeks ago?
Big Muzz. That was last week. Yeah.
That's last week.
Okay. So one of the things that I learned from him that I didn't know was, for me, like I always thought visual line of sight was if I can see the dot in the sky and I know that's my drone, that I've got visual line of sight.
Yeah.
But something that he mentioned was you need to be able to recognize what direction the drone is going in,
Yes.
which it's pretty obvious to see what direction the drone is going in if it's moving, right? But he was like, you need to know what direction the camera is pointing. You need to be able to see it turning in the sky. And like, we keep, these drones keep getting better and better and smaller. So your visual line of sight isn't as far as it is with my Inspire. Like I can fly my Inspire or my Unique Typhoon.
Right.
I can fly those really far away and I can still tell what it's doing because
Right.
it's such a big hoss of a drone. But you get this tiny little mini or the nanos or even like the DJI FPV drone or the Air 2S, they're pretty small and they're like light gray. Once you get that right next to a cloud, like it's hard to tell what that drone's doing. So I don't generally have that problem because I'm always like, I don't do the same things that you do, Draymond. Like I fly in a field, I fly, I only fly maybe like 400 feet away from myself, and I like the last thing I want to do is crash that drone. So I'm like flying close to things, and the first thing I do is I do a test flight. I go around and fly and check. Like I fly over to the tree and see how tall it is, and I fly over to the building and I see how tall it is, stuff like that. So once I get up in the air and I go fast, I know that like I can fly 200 feet up in the air and I'm not going to hit a thing.
There you go.
Unless some hawk comes and hits me.
Right. And basically, why I call it, you have established your hard deck. You remember that old term in the movie Top Gun? Don't go below the hard deck. You've established your hard deck by doing that. So if you're see your telemetry and you say, okay, I'm getting close to that 200-foot level or 150 level, I need to be more cautious.
That's a funny thing, with the visual line of sight, and you get a company such as DJI, the multi-billion-dollar company, and they're all about the rules. They're all about, geofencing and everything. Why the hell do they make damn near every one of their drones gray? The hardest color to see, either gray or white, to see out there in the sky.
Not just that, Ron. If we have these rules about visual line of sight,
exactly.
Why do these companies keep making the drone to have such a long fucking range?
Well, I say that's here in America. Our rules don't apply to everywhere.
Right.
So, like I say, our rules are probably similar to what they have over in England or Canada, because, like I said, their airspace agency kind of mirrors our FAA.
Right.
But if you're somewhere, let's say we were another show, James in the Philippines, he might be able to fly anywhere and everywhere, for we know. Who controls airspace of the Philippines or Guam or what's going on in Japan or a number of other places. Like I said, DJI global. They just don't sell here. They're global. But that's why when Ron was talking about the color, that's why I love my Obsidian Phantoms, because they're black. So they stand out a little more against the clouds and the sky.
I actually thought that was a skin that you had on it, Dre.
No, they're actually a graphite grayish black color.
Yeah.
And then it was on a bright sunny day, the camera has like a little chrome tint to it. So I can even see when that thing turns and the sun hits it, I can see the reflection off that in the sky and everything. So it helps.
My Unique Typhoon H, it has different color LEDs on the like it's kind of like a boat. or a
Right.
plane. Like you can tell which direction it's flying by the color of the LEDs.
Yeah.
I think that's a good feature.
That's the other thing I was going to mention is even during the day time, if I flight it up, and I know Dre did because Dre put him on when we were flying, is on his kit that he had on his Phantom 3. I put strobes on even during the day.
Yeah.
And when I'm flying it, especially when I'm flying away and I'm on a construction job site, I'm headed towards one, that way I know all the time by where the placement of those strobes are. Am I actually flying away? Am I coming towards me? Did I make a mistake somehow and get disoriented?
Yeah.
And it's an easy way to do it.
Yeah. And I want to address Adrian's question about why do they make the drone fly so far away? It's not necessarily so the drone can fly that far away. It's so that you have full control of the drone when you're in congested areas. So I had a Parrot.
So you're talking about to have the remote have communication with the drone as far as
signal strength.
Yeah.
It's a signal
So
strength.
I had a Parrot B that was Wi-Fi. That if I flew it out at the ballpark, I could fly it all around that place. But I went downtown Nashville and I flew it. The thing went 50 feet off the ground and lost connection and then came back down. And I had to fly 100 feet up in the air to take a panorama with it. So I couldn't even get the drone high enough to take a dang picture with it.
That's because every one of these mobile cordless phones that people have in their homes is running on the same frequency.
So if I fly my Air 2S out here, I can probably fly 3 miles away if I wanted to. But if I flew that drone in downtown Nashville, I might lose connection really quick, especially if I go near a building or around a building where there's like an apartment building that has, 2,000 different Wi-Fi signals going through it. Like everybody's signed up for Wi-Fi. So it's so you can still have control of your drone even if it's in a congested area. But a lot of people don't care about the rules, and they're like, my drone, like the guy from Best Buy, he was like, I can fly this thing 7 miles away.
Hey guys, I didn't mention it, but please go ahead and hit that thumbs up on the stream. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Adrian's got a good show going.
I've been popping that in there for you, Adrian.
What was that, Steve-O?
I've been reminding people in there in the chat.
Yeah, but keep in mind, everybody been saying that you're actually the spotlight of the evening. You and your dinosaur keyboard. So.
Well, I'm still putting it in there. In fact, just for you, buddy, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
You and your dinosaur keyboard. We still have about 12 minutes. Thank you, guys, for the great show. Dre, for the good knowledge. Steve, thank you for coming in late. Ron, thank you for being here. Sean, thank you for being here. Everybody in the chat, we still have 12 minutes.
Sure.
They still talk a little bit, but
hey, I just got my internet speed back up. It just came back up. Somebody was disconnected.
Wait, that's amazing. What is your down and your up?
Right. Well, a minute ago, I'll run it again right now. I'm back up to 36 going out. And that's what you need is an upload speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Download speed is running about 240.
And your up is what, about 36?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was when you text me, it was at 1.06.
Wow.
Holy crap.
I've been on the phone with Cox Communication this last week again. This has been going on for over 2 months.
You don't want to know what mine is. Ugh.
Well, you're being able to talk.
Yeah,
What is it, Matt? I mean, Ron?
Well, being that I'm in the boondocks, I found out I've had them out here 5 times in the past 3 months. And I lost my shit about 2 weeks ago. I really lost it because they're charging me for this advertised amount, and that's what I'm paying. But I'm getting, and I implored to them. I said I am getting 1/10 of what you're advertising, and that's what you're charging me for. This is bullshit. And I lost it. And I was actually getting the best I'm going to get is because it's copper. I don't have fiber optic out here in the boondocks.
This is copper. This is coax.
I'm getting 25 to 30 up. Or I'm sorry, download. I'm getting 25 to 30 download. My upload is at one point, it was about 2 weeks ago, it was 0.7. Yeah.
Okay, who's the wise ass?
Sean?
Yeah, I'm in the city, y'all.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you got 897 up?
Yep.
Yep, that's up and down.
The hell?
Are you hardline, Sean, or are you Wi-Fi?
I'm hardlined. I'm
Okay.
fiber.
Yeah, you're like me now.
You're fiber
Man,
on the
that
house.
is high as shit, man.
And I'm sharing it with 2 kids and 2 other adults. So there's probably like at least 20 devices on right now.
It doesn't
accessing the
matter,
internet.
man. Your internet is freaking outrageously.
If mine was hardwired, I'm on Wi-Fi with my desktop right now, and I have 182 download, 175 upload, and I'm on
That's
Wi-Fi.
even fast. That's fast too.
Yeah,
But
during the
897 up. That's holy.
during the day, I'll pull 940 down,
Mhm.
and that's on copper. That's on coax.
Right.
And running because they guarantee it's supposed to be 940 down as the optimum and 35 up. So here I'm pulling 36.5 up. So I can't complain about that. It does for what I need to do for websites, to upload to the servers, and that's what I need is the upload speed. But they always tell you, going, oh well, you can't get higher than that. I said, well, wait a second. If I can pull 940 down, I can put 940 up. It's you're throttling me back. It has nothing to do with the capabilities of the coax.
So Sean, I take it your plan is 1 gig up and down. That's what my plan is: 1 gig up and 1 gig down.
Yeah, and I'm the first one on the block, so like I get the first dibs on the internet, and then it goes down the street.
I'm the last one.
You get the leftovers, the sloppy seconds.
Pretty much that's what I get.
Yeah.
Adrian, I'm gonna back out, buddy. It's a good show and good, informative. Good.
We understand that, Gary, because you're in frozen tundra. That's why.
Yeah, I love the video of the boiling water that I saw that you did. That was cool.
It's the goddamn deer and elk and antelope and everything out here that are getting all the Wi-Fi out here, and then us humans, we get what's left over. I don't know, but anyhow. Well, hey guys, have a good night, and it's good seeing y'all.
All right, good seeing you too, Ron.
Take care, Ron.
Thank you for. Oh, do me a favor, Ron. Before you leave, tell Michael Jackson, Joe Jackson, and Freddie Jackson good night for me.
And the one with the Rodney Bell.
That's Michael Jackson, the one with the Rodney hat. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. I'll see you all later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Ron.
Yeah.
So, guys, before we wrap it up, do anybody have any questions about any of the topics that we discussed? I do have one, and I think Sean kind of talked about it a little bit.
We'll be sleeping downstairs tonight.
Okay.
Sean kind of went ahead and talked about it a little bit, Dre.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the visual line of sight,
yes.
I was also under the impression. Remember when we had the one with Vic last week, where as long as I have the little light on it, you know what I'm saying, and I could tell what the light was. To my understanding, I thought that you can actually go a little further. You know what I'm saying? But he said no.
Right, because they like I say, people want to interpret that, but the purpose of the beacon on your drone is for other pilots, other manned aircraft to see your drone, not for you to see the drone. Now, if you put them on the sides where you can see it, that's great. but that is not the purpose, and that is not covered under the FAA rules.
Yeah.
So people are talking about, well, yeah, I have 3 lights in the back, and I can see them, 4 miles down the road. I said, but that's not the intended purpose.
Okay, now another
So-
thing on that token. But
Mhm.
if I fly at night, as
So-
long as I can see as long as I can see the light, does that mean that I could fly? You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Visual line of sight?
It's kind of one thing cancels out the other because, like I say, flying
Because
at
he
night,
said that I could fly at night with the
you
light
can fly,
on.
You can fly at night, and you're required to have the beacon on. It is once again, the rules say you're required to have the beacon on that can be seen for 3 miles by other aircraft.
And I understand. However, during the day, no. But at night, as long as I have the light, I can do it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Let me say.
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so the point that he was saying is you have to know which direction the drone is going.
And I understand, correct.
So if you put red lights on one side and green lights on the other side, and you can visually tell which direction your drone is going when you turn it, so if I just see a little light blinking up in the sky, I have no idea what direction that drone's pointing. But if you treat it like a boat, where you've got one color lights on one side, another color of lights on the other side, and you can
thank you for being here.
you can tell that drone is turning. You can tell which direction that drone is pointing. But like what Draven said is like that light is not so that you can like all of a sudden I can see it 3 miles away, so I can fly 3 miles away. Like you still need to be able to see. I would think at night you can't even fly it as far as you can during the day because it's harder to see.
Right. Well, basically, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it in the night sky, and that's why I say that even though technically you can fly at night, the distance you fly at night is basically going to be really restrictive because you cannot different what direction the aircraft is going. Like I say, what the FAA states is that the beacon on top of the aircraft must be seen from 3 nautical miles away by other aircraft.
Correct.
Whatever aids you on the ground, that's up to you. Okay, that is up to you. But that's what the requirement states. The FAA that you got to have that one on top. Whatever you put on the sides, the bottom, or whatever, that's on you.
Yeah.
Now,
and a lot of the things that Vic was saying were like he had a lot of good knowledge, but like even some of the questions I asked him, it was still vague. It was like a moral thing. So like when I said that I haven't made a dime flying my drones, and he said, well, if you're planning on doing, flying your drone and just to get YouTube views, then all of a sudden you have an intent, and all of a sudden you have to have a Part 107, and all of a sudden you have to fly into these rules or whatever. Even if I'm flying out in a field and there's not a person around me, if I want to put it on YouTube for people, I will have a cool video, then I can do that all day. If I, in my mind, think, oh, I want to do this to get views on YouTube, all of a sudden I got to get a Part 107. To me, that was a vague little, that's an interpretation of the rules.
You're always trying to have fun, Sean.
Yeah. So like what Steven Drones always says, he said, I just fly for fun. And I'm like, okay, well, I just fly for fun too.
Right. And like I say, it's going to come down to, like I say, the FAA is not deliberately trolling people's channels to look for violations. There's usually going to be somebody turning you in, or you are basically just thumbing the FAA in the eye by what you're doing, and you're displaying your telemetry. You're flying around critical infrastructure, and we've all heard the story. Okay, and when you do that, they're gonna come at you. They're gonna tap you on the shoulder, just like Vic said. They rather send him out there to have a little heart-to-heart talk with you and say, "Hey, this is the way the rules are. Don't do it no more." But when you ignore the warnings, ignore the effort of them reaching out to you, that's when it gets a little nasty. And that's what has happened is a couple of people that they have ignored the warnings, and then now they've gotten nasty, and now they want to cry foul. I said, I always tell people, I said, this ain't the first time you've been contacted.
Now, another thing, Dre.
Yeah.
And when it comes, this is another thing that I was under the impression, because I asked this question a lot to a lot of people that have big channels. When it comes to a building that's above 400 feet, I've been told that I can actually go double the height of that building. Is that true?
Only if you're part 107.
I heard that even with recreational, you're allowed to do it. So that's not true.
No, recreation can 400 only fly 400 feet, period.
That changed roughly 2 years ago, and you can only be 400 feet AGL above if like for Dre, if he was going over and flying a 700-foot high building and you come up within 400 feet of it, you can go up to 700 feet. Technically, he can go 400 feet above that as a Part 107. But even just stripping it down to normal say, if it was 100 feet, you could go up technically to 300 feet above that. Is a safe rule of thumb. Then you're under 400 feet. But legally, as a 107, you could go to 400 feet above the rooftop of that building.
Yeah. And that's why, like, when you turn your DJI FPV drone on, it says you're in a warning area. You'll be limited to 150 meters.
Right.
That's the 400 feet. Like, you're in an area that you're not allowed to fly above that anyway.
Right. And like I say, this be straight with you, Adrian. If I had to fly a building that high, I would still get clearance, Lance, and I would call the FAA. I would call everybody I can to say, hey, this is where I'm at. Let you guys know, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, because I want to make sure I am protected. This is not about me. I want to make sure I'm protected. So if something goes down, I want to say that I let everybody know. I let everybody know what the deal is, what's going on before I even show up on the site and everything. Because like I said, I don't want no issues with anybody. Like last week, I had a job not far from the job I got to do tomorrow. It was right on the edge of the TFR that was about to take place for the Super Bowl. I flew it on Saturday. I told the guy, I got to get this done early on Saturday because Sunday to Monday is a no-go deal. Ain't nobody flying. So I went out there, and I was right there on the edge of the TFR. And I'm sure as I'm circling around the property, I would have been inside the TFR. Because one thing people get confused about, that's why I said you have to look at where you're going to be at. Your takeoff location might be outside controlled airspace. But while you're doing your flight, you may actually go into controlled airspace. What you do is you get Lance approval for that airspace adjacent to where you may take off from, just in case, because it don't hurt nobody to get it approved. So as I said, those are the precautions you have to think about. Okay, so because where I'm going tomorrow, that's where I'm at. I got Ontario Airport, Chino Airport with overlapping airspace at one point, and just to the west of that is Class G airspace. And if I travel another mile and a half, 2 miles, I start dipping my toe into LAX airspace.
Okay.
And stuff. So I got a very, very small window to operate in. So I have to be very careful. I can say what's going to happen is, I don't want to be flying. All of a sudden my drone starts descending, and I'm like, what's going on? Because I've gone to an airspace I'm not authorized to be in.
So when it comes to the no-fly zone, it will literally start bringing your drone down.
Yes. That's what happened.
I was just going to mention something like with Sean, and you were talking about because of the Part 107 and that conversation. And that brings up the wonderful world of YouTube. I'm not monetized, and you are. Your channel is monetized.
I'm not monetized either.
You're not monetized. But they are putting advertisements on there.
Yep.
YouTube.
Every single one of them.
So technically, somebody is benefiting financially from a drone video we took, and that is where the quandary lies with the FAA that I think that needs to be rectified. because
Before it was not like that,
it's
Steve,
not
but
our
now
fault
it is.
that advertisement put up. YouTube put it up.
Correct, and that's what I was saying. Way like a while back, that was never the case. But now, even if I want to watch my own video on YouTube, it will
Mhm.
play a freaking ad before
Yeah.
I'm even allowed
Right.
to,
Mhm.
click on the little 5-second ad or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, it's been
Well,
2 hours and 5 minutes. Time fly when you're having fun, Dre.
that's what they always say.
We
So
covered those
just
topics.
one
Thank
question
everybody.
with Sean. I was just wondering if he'd heard anything with your about something like that.
Your mic is going like it's going out a little bit. Say that again.
That's probably my internet.
Uh-oh.
so
Anyway, say it
are you
again.
you saying if I heard anything about like regular ads going on people's channels that aren't monetized?
Mhm.
So ads pay for the service. So YouTube, that's how YouTube keeps going, is by ad revenue. If I'm like, my YouTube channel is monetized, I get a couple cents here and there, but and the ads that they put on my channel are associated with things that I talk about.
Mhm.
So, but but they're going to put ads on it no matter what.
Right.
Like the person that makes the show on TV, they don't get money from the ads that run while their show is playing. So it's not like well, it's my content, I should get some money from the work that I did or whatever. YouTube has given you a free media server to put your stuff on and share it with people. That's why there's ads on Facebook. Like, I'm posting a picture of my daughter at my daddy daughter dance, and there's an ad for Epidemic Sound on it. You know what I
Maybe
mean?
you're
Like,
misunderstanding me. What I'm saying is the quandary with the FAA saying that somebody is making money off that drone video that is on somebody who is not monetized. And it's a furthering with that video is somebody is collecting is a furthering of a benefit of a business or funds or anything,
right.
which then you have to be a Part 107. So as a hobbyist, we're caught in that quandary that YouTube put that ad on. Now we can be in violation with the FAA.
Well, you're not benefiting from that ad at all.
Somebody is. It doesn't matter if you are or not. If there's any benefit off that video, according to FAA rules, any benefit financially off that, it's technically illegal.
Yeah.
What Steve is getting at is that your drone video or whatever case may be, wherever you're posting, doesn't have to directly benefit you. If it benefits anyone or
Right.
any entity in furtherance of a business, which YouTube is a business, that can classify it as you need to be 107 as far as it being drone footage. And that's the way the rule, and that's the way the rules are kind of written. But in the spirit of the rules, because of the platform YouTube provides, that's why the FAA doesn't go after anybody.
Yeah. And the FAA is going to come at the person that's benefiting.
Well, I said right now, basically, YouTube is benefiting because they're the one who's using our content, monetized or not. Like I say, I'm not monetized, Steve's not monetized, Adrian's not monetized.
Nope.
But we do have followers and people come see our content. YouTube decide to put an ad on our videos. So if someone likes the, deodorant stick commercial that comes on before my video, somebody's making money on deodorant, off my content, even though I don't reap any benefits at all. But I am aiding YouTube and whoever's selling deodorant furtherance of a business based upon my content.
For example, on my videos, before my video is actually played, I always see the freaking Skydio Plus 2 commercial coming on.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, just about everyone, the Skydio 2 Plus is the commercials popping up.
And just before that, I think the big one was whoever they were advertising for the StreamYard used to be a big one.
exactly.
During Christmas
exactly,
time, always get those StreamYard
yeah.
commercials during Christmas time. Different people advertising StreamYard. Like I say, I didn't ask for it. I'm like Adrian, you know. I mean,
or in Jim Boyd's case, it's manscaping.
Yeah, I get the Mr. Squatch, like the soap, like the man soap.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. So,
I actually want some of that soap now.
Yeah.
But
so that's what I say. It's I would say a very murky gray area, and that's why I say that the FAA. I have not seen them go after anybody just based off YouTube videos per se. Now, if you're out there flaunting the regulations of the FAA and so forth, and it comes to their attention, I said they reach out to you to tell you don't do that. If you ignore it, that's when they come out there with the big, as they said, the cleanup hitter, and that's when they start costing folks money.
Yeah. And
from there, but like I said, this whole YouTube thing, or even on Facebook, because a lot of times I'll post a video via from YouTube on Facebook. So you talk about now Facebook is putting a commercial on it, and YouTube's putting a commercial on it.
Yeah.
I'm not monetized from either one of them. I don't know if you can be monetized on Facebook, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
But they throw those commercials out there left and right. All right, Adrian, let's wrap it up.
Well, thank you all for coming in. Everybody on the panel, Dre, Steve-O, Sean, Ron. Who else was on?
That was it.
That was it. Okay. Of course.
Just Ron's the only one besides us.
And everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. One more time, Dre, go ahead and let them know about the March giveaway, the whole month of March, please.
Once again, like I said, we'll be giving out some merchandise for the month of March, like the hat Adrian has on, and we'll be giving away some polo shirts and some hoodies with a Recoveryone Drone logo that he has on his hat will be on each of those items and stuff. And we also have stickers that we'll be passing out. So we want to try to get as many winners as possible. So we have made one rule that once you win something, you are not eligible to win anything else. So we want to spread it around as much as possible. We want many winners as possible.
And a lot of people want to know how we're going to make the contest. All I'm going to do is basically, if you want to go ahead and enter, all you need to do is just basically, you know what I mean? Hey, let's pick a number. You know what I mean? Or just tell me you want in, and then I will take your name. I'll put it in the little wheel. You know what I mean? Spin the wheel, and somebody will win that day. That way, everybody will have a fair shot.
Just don't use that wheel that Art has.
You know which one?
So
don't use that wheel that Art has. That thing's rigged.
No. That thing is rigged. That's rigged by the government.
Adrian, so StreamYard has a giveaway tool. So if we can talk about it offline if you want to. I can talk to you about it, but but everybody, like, you put like a hashtag contest or something like that, and everybody in your chat the entire night, they type in hashtag contest, then it goes through and picks a random person that said that.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
You can do it over and over again, so that makes people have to show up to your stream to enter the contest.
Cool.
So
yeah, and you can, like Sean says, you can change it throughout the whole entire stream.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
You just type in a hashtag or even a word or sentence.
Yeah, because I'd like to be able to give out at least 2 prizes each night: a hat and a shirt, or a hat and a hoodie, or stickers and whatever else, something like that. So
what? You know, one thing that StreamYard just did is something new. You can actually play background music now.
Yeah.
That's been on there for a
right
while.
after I cancel it, but you can't upload anything to it yet.
Correct, but it has like little stuff that's already there for free. You know what I'm saying?
It's
like
crappy.
Little free. I understand, but that's new. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, and
all
they
right,
got
guys.
2 cameras.
And they also have like a little background. Anyway, thank you all for coming in. I really appreciate the love and support. Dre.
Yeah.
Thank you for the knowledge, sir.
No problem.
Sean, thank you. Steve-O, I know your crappy internet came up finally on that keyboard. You need to do me a favor. Let me shoot that keyboard. I hate that keyboard. That keyboard took over the whole show.
I muted my mic.
So,
Yeah.
so
But-
next week when you come in again, you're gonna have your new keyboard, right? We're not gonna have that problem. There you go. That's the thumbs up I wanted to see.
All
Well,
right.
it all depends. Maybe I'll beat the YouTube. We won't put any numbers by. We don't know how many times they'll go.
That's why you live in California in your liberal state. That's why.
Yeah.
You want your thumbs up on. You can't make up your mind what you want.
Oh no, I know what it is. It's the rest of the state going north. Dre knows that all too well.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you, Sean. If you want to stick around for a minute, you can kind of show me after we get off. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.
All
Take
right.
care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Good night, brother Joe. Everybody have a good weekend.